Niggas are so stupid.
If you see a nigga, kick his ass.
Fuck you and stay off the phone.
Hey, Mookie, forget about it. Can I talk to you for a second?
What?
Pino, who's your favorite basketball player?
Magic Johnson.
Who's your favorite movie star?
Eddie Murphy.
Who's your favorite rock star? Prince. You're a Prince fan.
Boss, Bruce.
Prince.
Bruce.
Pino, all you ever talk about is nigga this and nigga that. And all your favorite people are so-called niggas.
It's different. Magic, Eddie, Prince are not niggas. I mean, they're not black. I mean, let me explain myself. They're not really black. I mean, they're black, but they're not really black. They're more than black. It's different.
It's different?
Yeah, to me, it's different.
Well, this is a black man asking the question.
What would you call an educated Negro with a BA or an MA or a BS or a PhD?
I'll tell you, you call him a nigger. That's what the white man calls him, a nigger. See, you have to understand this type of thinking.
Elijah Muhammad once told his followers, "No one man can rise above the condition of his people." It has to be frustrating for Africans who gain celebrity status or work their way into a middle or upper class level of society to realize no matter how far they progress personally, especially in a financial sense, you are still treated, viewed, and compared to the least of your brothers and sisters in the street. There are countless examples we can use to prove this analysis, but a real quick example is that of our great ancestor and Pan-African revolutionary Patrice Lumumba. At around the time of 1952, when Lumumba was a part of the Congolese elite and fighting for the causes of the elite, Lumumba joined Clement, a close white associate, on a research trip to his home region. Lumumba was humiliated when they boarded the boat together and were then forced to separate into racially demarcated seating. On another occasion in Leopoldville, Lumumba collided with a white woman who screamed at him, "Dirty monkey, can't you see where you're going?" This proves that even though Lumumba was well known and part of the Congolese elite, well trained and educated in European culture and values, he was treated as the least of his brothers and sisters because of their degraded conditions throughout the Congo. And to Lumumba's credit, after he experienced these events in his life, it transformed his worldview, and he fought for all Congolese, no matter what their class level was. But one of the best examples we want to use is that of Barack Obama. Barack Obama back in 2008 represented hope, a post-racial society in America, after he was elected to the highest honor in the land of the United States of America. Here it is, for the first time, the so-called first non-white president of the country holds the most powerful position in the world. The majority of black Americans thought we made it to the promised land, that the election of our first Afro-American president would lead us to that land of milk and honey, but nothing could have been further from the truth. But we won't get into that politically in this video. On a more positive note, and on a personal and symbolic level, President Obama represents a strong, positive African family in what is considered the highest position in the world that has an African name. Young children of color can view this as inspiration and aspiration to know that you can overcome all odds if you are committed to your goals you set for yourself. But let's get to the reason why we use President Obama as the best example of being compared to the least of his brothers and sisters because of our worldwide degraded condition. Personally, I agree with differing or attacking the political or ideological position of an individual on a respectable level. What I am against is how President Obama is being treated for the personal, deep-seated racial hatred of the man by his political enemies. Here are a few examples. While on the Fox Daily News show, Republican Governor of New Jersey Chris Christie referred to President Obama as a light-skinned Negro without the Negro dialect. South Carolina GOP activist and former chairman to the State Elections Commission Rusty DePaz has apologized for saying a gorilla that escaped from a zoo was an ancestor of Michelle Obama, the wife of Barack Obama. after an aide to the state attorney general Henry McMaster detailed the escape of a gorilla from Colombia's Riverbanks Zoo. DePass responded with a comment, "I'm sure it's just one of Michelle's ancestors, probably harmless." The October newsletter by the Chaffee Community Republican Women Federated says, if Obama is elected, his image will appear on food stamps instead of dollar bills like other presidents. The statement is followed by an illustration of Obama bucks, a phony $10 bill featuring Obama's face on a donkey's body labeled United States food stamps. The mayor of Los Alamitos was under fire for an email he sent out that depicts the White House lawn painted with watermelons under the title, "No Easter Egg Hunt This Year." Wolfboro, New Hampshire Police Commissioner Robert Copeland called the president a nigger, and when he was asked about it, he wrote in the email that he wouldn't be apologizing because Barack Obama meets and exceeds my criteria for such. A Belgian newspaper depicts Barack and Michelle Obama as apes ahead of the president's visit. North Korea's state news agency has fired off racist insults against President Barack Obama that U.S. officials condemn as disgusting. A couple of remarks from the paper: that Barack Obama does not even have the basic appearances of a human being. He is a crossbreed with unclear blood. Obama still has the figure of a monkey, while the human race has evolved through millions of years. It would be perfect for Obama to live with a group of monkeys in the world's largest African national zoo and lick the breadcrumbs thrown by spectators. Now let's check out these degrading, racist, stereotypical images that have been photoshopped and used throughout social media. So now we can see very clearly with these various examples displayed that the President of the United States, with all his power and prestige he is supposed to have, is compared and treated as the least of his brothers and sisters in the street with the most racist stereotypical terms and images that was created during slavery and afterwards during the social Darwin era, comparing black people or people of African descent to apes to justify the conditions that Africans worldwide had to endure. President Obama, in his memoir, Dreams from My Father, expresses very vivid analysis on the frustration of being compared to the least of his brothers and sisters. He says only white culture could be neutral and objective, only white culture could be non-racial and willing to adopt the occasional exotic in his ranks, only white culture had individuals. Why should we get lumped in with the losers if we don't have to? We become only so grateful to lose ourselves in the crowd, America's happy, faceless marketplace. And we never get so outraged as when a cab drives past us or the woman in the elevator clutches her purse, not so much because we're bothered by the fact that such indignities are what less fortunate colors have to put up with every single day of their lives, although that is what we tell ourselves, but because we're wearing Brooks Brothers clothes and speak impeccable English, and yet somehow been mistaken for an ordinary nigger. Don't you know who I am? I'm an individual. So how do we reverse this deflating situation into a more positive outcome? The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey once said, The prejudice against the white race against the black race isn't so much because of color as of condition, because as of race, to them we have accomplished nothing, we have built no nations, no government, because we are dependent for our economic and political existence. Prejudice can be actuated by different reasons. Sometimes the reason is economic and sometimes political. You can only obstruct it by progress and force. Now let us focus on the word progress. How do we view progress? The age-old question often asked about celebrities and public figures of African descent is when they reach a certain level of success, the majority of them don't give back to their community at large. Because let's face it, the majority of our celebrities and public figures come from humble beginnings due to the systematic racism in American institutions that create wealth imbalance between African people and Europeans and other ethnic groups. And also the answer could lie largely in the loss of mission, a mission informed by a sense of connection to a larger African community and a sense of responsibility to the legacy of the struggle that made possible this generation's phenomenal material success. This sense of mission has been a cornerstone of African survival, a source of strength and inspiration, a sense of being part of a larger cause as a foot soldier in a larger struggle. They only live in the here and now and for themselves. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey once said, "The Negro or colored race is developing a class of millionaires and money hoarders, much more dangerous to the race's life and existence than any other similar group of men among any other race. The rich Negro is no philanthropic to his race. He does not proportionally give to or help his racial institutions as the white people do with their wealth. A Rose, Rockefeller, or Carnegie, or any other rich white person will create foundations, schools of research and science, clinics, hospitals, or scholarships. But the Negro will prefer subscribing and donating to these white institutions to show off rather than to do for his own race." Not 1/2 or 1% of the rich or wealthy of the Negro or the colored race gives away for the charity or uplift for the work of their own people or help to find employment for them. Most of the charity bestowed upon Negro schools, churches, hospitals, and institutions and employment comes from the considerate and philanthropic of the white race. The middle class and poor element of the race, however, are doing everything for the good of the race, and were it not for them, truly the race would be in a more pitiable condition. One of the main reasons for this disconnect between the masses and the so-called bourgeois or upper class is the European ideology of individualism. We hear a great deal today of the do your own thing and I do mine kind of situation, the so-called individualization of success and failure. Dr. Amos Wilson destroys this ideology of individualism by saying that Africans must recognize that individuality is a collective phenomenon that radiates from groups' power and prestige. There are no individuals who belong to a powerless, degraded group, only notorious stereotypical exceptions to a very racist rule. Individual choice and distinction is a fringe benefit of those who belong to the dominant or autonomous groups. The route to individual power is that of group empowerment. All the other individual power is illusionary and ultimately a form of self and other destruction. In his autobiography, the great revolutionary Huey P. Newton effectively used an old African proverb called "I am we." He said if you met an African in ancient times and asked him who he was, he would reply, "I am we." All of us are the one and the multitude, and we need to return to this state of consciousness. Sombonfu Some, who is one of the first and foremost voices of the African spirituality from Dano, Burkina Faso, brings the wisdom of the Dagara people from the West African village. She says, in Africa, they say that if one person is sick, everybody is sick. The village or tribe is seen as a huge tree with thousands of branches. When one part of this living entity is diseased, there is a need to re-examine the whole tree. This observation of Sobonfu Same's description of our traditional African heritage proves that we are not a people of individuals that aren't concerned with our community at large, that we as African people, before the external forces, forced us with this foreign ideology of individualism, we would always give back to the least of our brothers and sisters and help them along the way to improve their quality of life. In the autobiography of our honorable ancestor Malcolm X, he explains the potential genius in the ghetto where the least of our brothers and sisters dwell. He said West Indian Archie had the kind of photographic memory that put him among the elite of numbers runners, which is today modern day lottery. He never wrote down your number. Even in the case of combination plays, he would just nod. He was able to file all the numbers in his head and write them down for the banker only when he turned in his money. This made him the ideal runner because cops would never catch him with any betting slips. I often reflected upon such black veteran numbers men as West Indian Archie. If they had lived in another kind of society, their exceptional mathematical talents might have been better suited. But it's in fact Malcolm X who is the actual model example, or the most notable example, for us not to give up on the least of our brothers and sisters in the ghetto. The Nation of Islam didn't give up on people like Malcolm, and look what Malcolm turned out to be, from a petty criminal who was transformed and became a world leader. That was by us as a community reaching back to our people and building ladders for their upward social mobility to a variety of positive, fruitful opportunities. When we don't reach back to help the least of our brothers and sisters that really need the help, or those that really want to help themselves, it is like committing an act of treason to the historical struggle our ancestors paid the ultimate price for. This will have to be our commitment to our ancestors, to the ones who are currently suffering, and to the unborn. Then the king said, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous answered him, and they said, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you as a stranger and invited you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you?" The king replied, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for the least of my brothers and sisters of mine, you have done for me."